Good evening and welcome back to What War Leaves Behind. I am Jeff Sabins, retired United States Marine, Purple Heart recipient, author, and avid reader of combat memoirs. And today I want to talk about the latest book that I read, House to House by David Bellavia. Right. So awesome book. Right. Here's the cover of it for everyone to see. I mean, just an awesome cover. Talks about the Second Battle of Fallujah in November 2024. David was with 3rd Platoon, Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion, 2nd Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division, U.S. Army. And the hardcover has about 336 pages. Great book to read, right? I absolutely loved this book. I could not put it down. I mean, it was just, he went into so much detail on these things. And there's things on here, there's aspects that he wrote about that I could see myself in, right? It brought me back to certain things in my career. And then there's some things that went even beyond that to where I just couldn't even imagine having to go through that stuff, right? So, as I always do in these debriefs, is why this book matters, right? So, obviously, there's been lots of books written about the Battle of Fallujah, right? It's just a huge house to house conflict that interests people, right? No one wants to read about, when I was with 38 Weapons and we're doing MSR security and we're rolling up and down the main MSRs for 8 to 10 hours a day, right? No one wants to read about that. But when you're going house to house with, you just never know what's going to be behind that door and you never know what's going to happen. I mean, the details that David goes into is just incredible, right? So obviously everybody loves urban combat, or at least to read about it or watch it on movies, right? Um, Look at Warfare, right? A great movie about Navy SEALs, and everyone just loves that house to house kind of conflict, right? So he always talks about decisions he has to make, um, courage with fear, right? And then the humanity of them having to clear one house after another and not knowing if I take point on this stack, am I going to get blasted as soon as I open this door or go through this entryway, right? Am I in the fatal front? And so this book is the absolute best book I have read so far when it comes to the Second Battle of Fallujah. And I've read a lot of books, and so this is it's just awesome, right? He does a fantastic job. Okay, so I always start and hear the story. I'll make sure there's no spoilers when I write through this. I don't want to give too much away, right? But once again, I don't want to keep reiterating the things I'm talking about here. It's about them clearing through these houses, rooting out the enemy, and establishing a foothold, right? And so they go in there. He talks about decisions he has to make. He talks about losses that they took. He talks about outcomes, good and bad. And then, obviously, for anyone who purposely reads this book without knowing anything about it, it's because they know that David is a Medal of Honor recipient. And so he talks through that as well. And it's just, it's intense. It really is. When he talks through some of the things he had to go through, and when he went through that instance of what eventually awarded him the Medal of Honor, and the decisions he had to make, and the fear that was instilled into him, and I mean, that stuff was it was insane. You've got to read it for yourselves, right? So now, after reading through this, my first impression after putting it down, right, when I was all done and I read through it, I realized that even though there was so much conflict written in this book, that wasn't the thing that stood out to me, right? The thing that stood out to me was the non conflict, the people around David and how they approached him and how they viewed him, in the same things in my life and the veterans that I serve with lives, right? Like the people who look at you and know nothing of what you went through and know nothing about you and judge you from what they think is going on, right? So, a great book for all leaders, combat or not. Okay. And so, I go through 3 debrief points every time I do this, right? And so, debrief one, the quote from the book, the visible part of the battle was only a fraction of what the men were carrying, right? And so, a huge point in this book, which shocked me and then immediately brought me back to like, yep, I believe that. We've experienced things like this in our careers, right? Was 7 days of intense fighting. I mean, people are covered in blood, diarrhea all over themselves, um, pus leaking, coming out of their faces and arms from cuts, bruises. One of the soldiers literally has a hole in his face, and they've come in for 30 minutes to get some hot chow that was set up for them. They were told to come in specifically to get this hot chow that was just for them, and then the people around that inside the wire that haven't been out there doing this immediately jump in front of these soldiers and take their food. And so while they're just laying there resting and just saying, trying to waiting for leadership to figure out what to do about the food, a general's coming through and wants to shake their hands, but there's staff NCOs and majors in front of them, in front of that general who wants these soldiers to go shave and put on clean camis. So completely outside the realm of like real life here. I mean, we're talking about these people have open wounds. They've lost their leaders, many of their leaders. They don't have long before they have to go back out and continue going. And in order to shake a hand of another human being, they want them to go get cleaned up, shaved, different camis, instead of waiting and getting their food. So just a crazy thing for me, right? And so my leadership lesson was, good leaders resist the temptation to judge by appearance before forming opinions. They seek to understand what their people have experienced. Empathy isn't weakness. It's one of the strongest leadership tools we have. And so these staff NCOs and these majors who are coming through, they're just, they're thinking, hey, these soldiers are not the best soldiers because look at them, they're nasty. They're not even cleaned up, to talk to the general, and little do they know like what these men had just been through for 7 days and are about to go back to, and literally want their first hot chow of the week. While the staff NCO and the officers who are doing this probably just got done with their third hot chow of the day, and so just a crazy part of the book to read through. Debrief 2, as always, coming home doesn't always mean the battle is over. And so Bellavia shifts focus from Fallujah to home. And like most of us, it's like it never stops, right? Your marriage is strained. You don't know your kids. Things have gone on without you. And more often than not, you miss being overseas. You miss the simplicity of war. And, like David, right? He actually went back a few years later in 06. When I was in Ramadi, he was going back to Fallujah to as a correspondent, to try to help people understand what's going on, and so he found a way to get back there because he felt like it wasn't complete, and so the leadership lesson is, and on top of that, I think David realizes that may have been a mistake, and he talks about that a little bit in the book where it was time to be with his family, and so the same commitment that we give serving our country and protecting our brothers to left and right, we have to give that same commitment to our family back home once we transition and not be stuck in the past, right? And I think that's for more than just combat or military, right? There's lots of things that people dive all in with their work and realize like that eventually will go away. Your family will be there at your funeral, right? So let's not destroy those relationships based on income or what we can accomplish, right? And then my third debrief is courage isn't the absence of fear. You can have courage and still be scared out of your wits, right? And I don't want to go real into this. I want you to read the actions that earned him the Medal of Honor, and see how he absolutely does not shy away from the fear that he went through, right? And so I think that's a huge thing for everyone to read through. And no matter what, courage is courage. It doesn't mean that you're not afraid. Okay. And what the book got right. Okay. What the book got right was the honesty. He doesn't try to make combat feel like a movie. He just does it how he writes it, how he sees it, and how he remembers it, and how he went through it. The confusion, the exhaustion, the fear, the frustration, impossible decisions. You know, what doorways could have enemies, what doorways don't, right? What's booby trapped and what's not. Is him making a decision and sending someone to go do the next thing does it get them killed, right? There's no perfect choices, and he admits that. Okay, and so this he does a great job of just encompassing what he went through without sugarcoating it or making it more dramatic, like the clickbait. And he talks about things more than just the firefights as well. He spends some time at the end of the book talking about coming home. He talks about other things. He talks about, we talked about an outlaw platoon where we talked about the Fobbits thing. He also hits a point where the REMF, the rear echelon, sorry, the rear echelon mother effers, right? And so he doesn't hold stuff back. Okay. And I like that. I love that about David putting it in the book. Right. So what stayed with me? So when I closed House to House, when I put the book down, it was at nighttime. I was in my bed. I like reading at night. Try to get 50 pages every night of the book I'm currently reading. And when I closed that book, again, the first thing that stuck out to me was, man, you never know what someone has done in their past. You cannot look at someone and just know the things that they went through. You just cannot realize that the heaviest parts of people's lives are often completely invisible. And again, it's not just about combat soldiers or combat military, it's about everybody. Everybody carries some sort of grief, trauma, regret, responsibility, burdens. And so, you know, I, I I take this book, I think about the overall lesson. Again, it's badass. He encompasses some really amazing things. I think everybody would love to read that book. But at the same time, like, I think about how we judge people and how we have no idea what's going on. And even for me, right? Like, I always assume, especially when I first retired or even when I was first coming back from deployments, I always assumed like I'd been through more than other people around me. And so that's just a wrong way to feel. Right. And so who should read this book? Well, I think veterans who want an honest account of the Battle of Fallujah, not the people who want to be the heroes and want to talk about this embellished thing they've done. An honest account of the Battle of Fallujah. I think active duty service members and young Marines who are preparing for leadership in the realities of combat. I think junior leaders learning that courage means making the next right decision while being afraid, right? Not being scared to make a decision even though you have fear. I think teachers, coaches, and mentors who want reminders that people around you are they're carrying something you don't know. They just aren't all the same. Like parents who want to better understand invisible burdens that military families often carry. You know, I always thought that parents of people returning home and not fully understanding what their son or daughter have been through. I think something like this could help them be like, wow, I had no idea, because lots of time people don't want to talk about it. Military families wanted a deeper appreciation for their loved ones. History readers that are interested in the human side of Iraq, one of Iraq's defining battles, and then anyone who wants to understand war beyond Hollywood and discover the people behind the headlines, right? And so, again, absolute banger of a book. Like I love this. Favorite passage: courage isn't the absence of fear, right? I think that's just a huge part, huge thing to take from it. Okay, and then required reading, absolutely, I would place this on my required reading list. I've actually already placed it on. I may have placed it on 2 already. I know I put it on, 10 books that young Marines need to read, and I may have put it on a teacher list as well. I have to look, but this is absolutely when I curate my long required reading list of every book that I've read that I think others should read. This is absolutely one that would be on here, 100% on the required reading list. I mean, to the point where you can't miss this. You should not miss this at all. After the last page, right? So again, when I closed it, I wasn't thinking about Fallujah. I was just thinking about everybody else: the teacher, the cashier, the parents, my students. Right? I'm a teacher at a middle school, right? So my students, and it just makes me reminds myself, like, hey, talk to these people, ask simple questions. Like, don't try to pry into their lives, but don't assume what you don't know, right? So never confuse what you see with what someone is carrying, all right? Uh, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, this is awesome, absolutely awesome. I would love to hear those of you that have read it. I know Jocko did an episode on David. I mean, this is an amazing read, right? So, just you got to grab it. Go grab. I got a link on here, right? So you can go to the top where it says talks about the book. There's a link to go grab a Kindle paperback. Go grab if you don't want to get paperbacks and you don't like having books around, go grab a Kindle and read it on your phone. I mean, I'm a guy that likes to take notes, and I highlight my books and I write little margins, and I have a notebook I write about. And this whole thing was full of notes. So you're going to find lessons throughout this whole book. And then next week, we're doing Tough Rugged Bastards, right, by John Daly. I got a signed copy from him a few weeks ago. I bumped it to the front of the list because I've been excited about this book for a long, long, long time. I'm reading through it right now. Again, another book that I've gotten highlighters through and notes through. Just an awesome book that is going to be great to talk about. Can't wait to get my debrief next Tuesday when I publish it. And yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, so know someone who appreciates the book, give it a share. Have reach out, have some people come subscribe to Combat Memoir Debrief, or my other content pillars, the Combat Teacher, for teachers who want to take lessons that we've learned from the military, and we use it for our classrooms, right? For classroom expectations, classroom management. I know a lot of military, including myself, my buddy David, all got out and became teachers. And so Combat Classroom is another fun thing we put together to help people out. Are you an author? I would love to feature your book. As of right now, we're not charging anybody for this. All you got to do is send me a message, send me a paperback or a hard copy of your book. We'll add it to the list. We'll read it. We'll get it out to our subscribers, get it out to our socials, get it out to our to all the people, all our readers, and see what we think about the book. Man, I would love to read it, love to give you my thoughts, love to write a debrief on it. Absolutely. I can't wait for a few books that I've talked to people that are sending them to me here in the next few months. I'm really excited about getting those. I have probably a 250 book library right now of combat memoirs but these are ones that I've picked out that I've ordered and come in and reading through. So for anyone that wants their book featured, wants me to read their book and do the debrief, we'll throw that to the beginning of the pile, just like I did John's. So go grab House to House. Loved reading it. Had a great time reading it. Learned a bunch from it myself. Appreciate you all listening in, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Substack. I appreciate your all support. I know we're early on. I'm not fantastic at this, but I'm doing the best I can, and I'm having a good time. So, give me some thoughts. Send me a message. Let me know what you think. Let me know how I can get this better off. What do I need to change? Looking forward to it. Appreciate you.